When we want to build sophisticated music with many people, we can do that all at the same time. We can each grab our instrument, we can all have a different vocal part, and with the help of a conductor keeping us together, we can make music that is sophisticated. What if you're by yourself? What if you don't have a conductor? Well, you need to layer on one part on top of the next, and this little video will help you to understand how that goes so that you can do it for yourself. Building a complex, sophisticated piece of music, either with notes, singing notes, or using rhythms and words, is much like building a hamburger, one thing at a time. Some hamburgers are small, some hamburgers are big, but all hamburgers have layers, and it's one step at a time. You put one layer on top of the existing layers or layer. When you eat a hamburger, you eat the whole thing. When you listen to a piece of music, oh, oh, the itsy bitsy spider walked up. You listen to the whole piece of music. You don't listen to individual parts. So when you're building something like a hamburger, you start with a bass line or an ostinato. Ba-dum, ba-dum, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, boom, 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 boom. Then you layer on riff 1, riff 2, riff 3, riff 4, and finally a melody or poem goes on top. Oh, oh, the itsy bitsy spider walked up the water spout. You don't have to have riff 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can have a bass line and the melody on top. Remember, when you're eating a hamburger, you eat the entire burger. When you listen to a song, you listen to the whole song. And yet, the whole song and the whole hamburger have many different layers, many different parts. Think about this in relation to color. We've all had experiences in mixing color as children and maybe in art classes. There's only 3 primary colors, but from the 3 you can make many, many other colors. So if a song is basically an amalgamation of many, many different colors, then we can separate the colors out. And from one color you can see that it really isn't just one color, but it's a combination of many, many, many different colors. Each color represents a different line of music, a different track of music. And we stack one color, one tonal color on top of another, and we create very sophisticated music. You can do this with Audacity. We can do this with any sound editing software. So a song that you listen to on the radio has many, many layers, which could be layers of a hamburger or layers of color, which you separate into their individual lines. By themselves they may be okay, but together it's very, very cool. So when you're layering on this thing to another thing, this is what you do. You are going to create a multi-track recording. It should, at the end, depending on how many tracks you want to create, look something like this. At the top you will lay out your bass line or your basic ostinato. The ostinato, as you can see from there, you can see the wavelength keeps going, or the waveform keeps going and going and going, and there's not much break. The next line has space. You can see that there's just a straight line, and then it wiggles when I say something. So when I press record for the second line, I am simply keeping my mouth shut and waiting for the appropriate time to say or sing that next part. So there's waiting, there's listening, and then there's singing or speaking. And you can see throughout this whole example, each line has different lengths that you're going to wait. and we call that a rest, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you are listening to something else and doing something new. Listen to something you did before when you do something new. Those two things, the listening and the doing, have to occur at the same time. The listening of something previously recorded and the doing of something new that you're recording right now must happen at the same time. If you're doing this correctly, you will have to listen to the first thing that you recorded as many times as you have tracks. You're going to have to listen to that first recording many, many times while you're trying to coordinate the other parts to the first part. Listen and record at the same time. That's the key, and it'll come out like this. I've laid down the first track, and now I press record, and this is what I hear. Here I am. Listen. I'm listening. I'm listening, and then I'm getting ready. And now I'm quiet again. I'm listening for the right time, and then here we go. Now I'm listening again. Listening again. Listen. Wait. Here I go. Now over time, the layers will get thicker and thicker because you're adding one thing on to the next. The existing thing that you're listening to will be more and more complex because you've laid down other layers, other tracks. Makes sense. Over the course of the process, you will wind up having something that sounds very, very cool, and it wasn't that hard to make. Oh, the itsy bitsy spider walked up the water spout. Yeah, and down came the rain and washed that spider out. Oh, it's out. Oh, came the sun and dried up all the rain. Oh, the rain and itsy bitsy spider walked up the spout again. Whoa, the itsy bitsy spider walked up the spout.